What's happening, everybody? Appreciate you guys checking in. Popping in here on a Monday 1:30 Pacific time. Typically don't do this during the day within the week, but look, couldn't jump on yesterday. Had a bunch of family stuff going on. Holidays are obviously right around the corner. Christmas is in a couple days, so had some family members coming to town randomly real quick, so couldn't jump on yesterday, but I definitely want to jump on and chop it up with you guys regarding this Houston game. We're going to talk about it, but just a random 1:30 Pacific time live, rocking out with you guys. And at the same time, man, I actually ended up just taking the next 2 weeks off of work. And so I might hit you guys with a couple more lives throughout the week, this week and next, just to chop it up. But at the same time, tomorrow, we typically go live on Wednesdays. We break down game film on Wednesdays of the previous game. This week, we're going to bump it up a day. So we're going to go live tomorrow in the Raider War Room with Chris, Severe. We're going to chop up the game film. Definitely take a look at JEANTY. Look, JEANTY flashed. He popped. Hell of a game by the young guy, and I love to see it. I will say it's unfortunate, that we're kind of into week 16, before we saw just a really complete game by him, but I love seeing it. As much as we have just been critical and we break down the game film, we see opportunities where, the blocking is there and the hole's open. He needs to make the right cut. Yesterday, there was definitely something that I saw that I haven't seen all season. It's not with the long run. It's not with the catch. It was another run that as soon as I saw it, that's what I've been waiting to look. That's what I've been waiting for. That's what I wanted to see, and I want to see more of it. So, but I got to give credit to JEANTY. Got to give credit to the offensive line. The offensive line against a really good front four of that Houston defense. That front line looked really good. That offensive line looked really good, and it allowed JEANTY to kind of have more opportunities than he's had in previous games. And so definitely want to give a shout out to the offensive line, and definitely want to give a shout out to JEANTY, for having a hell of a game. And I will, as much as you guys have rocked with us, we will call it how we see it without question. And I think JEANTY had a good game, very good game for the young rookie, and it was good to see. So I appreciate everybody kind of rolling in. Just want to give a heads up. I'm going to say what's up to the chat in just a second. But just as a reminder, I do a sub-only chat just to show my appreciation to all my subscribers. I definitely appreciate it. If you want to get included in the chat, we're going to talk about this Houston game. If there's any questions that you guys got, if you guys want to ask anything, give some feedback, anything you want to talk about, any topics, man, this is the time to do it. I'm going to be on here for probably about an hour and a half. The family that came in yesterday, because I couldn't do the live, they're actually out on the Vegas Strip, and so I'm going to go say what's up to them. We're going to go watch Monday Night Football, and shout out to anybody still in fantasy. I am playing today. I need Christian McCaffrey to have a good game, decent game. I actually kind of got screwed. Let me know if you guys are still alive in fantasy football. Let me know in the comments. I kind of got screwed. Woody Marks, I actually started him yesterday, and I was going around like crazy yesterday morning and afternoon, and I did not see that Woody Marks was inactive. So that player basically screwed me. And then Travion Henderson, I have him on my fantasy, and he got hurt early in yesterday's Sunday night game. And so that's basically two players out, but I'm still alive. I only need about 8 points from Christian McCaffrey tonight. 8 points. He averages about 23 points in the league that I'm in. I need about 8 points from him. So let's hope. Let's hope that he can pull it off. If it does, then I'm in the championship next week. So let me know. Let me know if you guys are still alive in fantasy football. But I will be, heading off to the Vegas Strip to go hang out with some fam. My parents are in town. They love going to the Vegas. They love being on the Strip, and they stay with us. They do a little bit of gambling. We have a little bit of fun. But I'm going to be watching Monday Night Football tonight on the Strip. So it's going to be a good time. I'm going to say what's up to a couple people rocking here before we kind of dive into this. Daniel Kim in the building. Appreciate you. What's going on, man? Tommy in the building as well. What is happening? Appreciate y'all again. Just hitting you guys random. 1:30 Pacific time live. Don't typically do it, but I took the next two weeks off of work. Chill with the family, but it's going to give me a couple more opportunities to jump on here and chop it up with you guys to finish off this season, because, man, we only have 2 games left. Marcus in the building. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you. Tommy, can't wait to watch the Ass Bowl this Sunday. G-Men versus Raiders. Skid marks all up and down the field. Look, it's going to be it's a battle for number one. I'll be honest. Like that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I have mentioned so many times why I want that number one draft pick, and it goes far beyond just because it goes far beyond just being able to pick somebody there. I think in order for us to get the top candidate, potentially the top candidate, head coaching candidate, we have to make this spot the most desirable spot possible. And they have the option of going to the Titans. They have the option to go into the Giants with potential franchise quarterbacks. If you like those two quarterbacks over there, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, they got a pretty good defense in both on both teams, and you have a high draft pick to build around. You don't have to waste a draft pick on a quarterback. Our quarterback room isn't the most desirable. I think we need that number one draft pick to create the foundation, or at least make this the most enticing position possible. And even with the number one, I don't know if it's the most enticing. I don't know if the top head coaching candidate that markdavis wants will even look at this, as a desirable spot, even with the number one. I just don't know. But I think we have to do everything possible to set the picture up right in hopes that it does become the most desirable. But it's going to be a battle. I am going to be out there. And shout out to you mentioning the Giants game. I've been trying to think about ways to kind of show my appreciation to the members as well. And so what I'm going to do is for all the members, not only in the offseason, we're going to break down game film of the college prospects. We're going to break down some game film of the free agents, the top free agents out there that we potentially want to go for. If you are a member, then you can throw out suggestions on game film that you want us to break down for not only free agents, but also the college prospects. But another thing I think I could do for the members is also kind of give you guys a live during the tailgates. I'm going to be out there for the Giants game. I'll be out there for the Kansas City game, and I'll do lives out there at the tailgates, and I'll do a live for the members. And you guys will get to see firsthand just kind of tailgates and everything. And so hopefully you guys appreciate something like that. That's definitely something I'm going to do for the members. It'll be a members only live. If for some reason the signal, the connection isn't great, I am going to bring a mobile hotspot to try to compensate for that. If it still doesn't work out, then I'll just record it and do a members only video so you guys can see it. But again, just something I want to do for the members, something I can potentially give back to you guys. So I definitely appreciate it. Yvette in the building, appreciate you rocking with us. Yes, if you guys can do, double tap that screen. It just hits that like button, helps out the algorithm, but I definitely want to pop in here and rock out with you guys. Tommy, have to keep tanking that number one pick. I think we need it. Daniel Kim, based on Caleb Rogers' stats, everything Pete was saying was to cover up his son's ineptitude. I got to take a look at Caleb Rogers' stats. I'm going to definitely do a deeper dive tonight, really get ready for that film breakdown tomorrow. But the offensive line, I think, definitely looked good. It gets a really good Houston defense, but we're going to definitely get into it. But I think the offensive line definitely gave JEANTY opportunities. And the thing is that JEANTY also took advantage of the opportunities that offensive line gave him. And again, it wasn't just on the long run, the long catch, but there was a run that popped out, which as soon as it happened, I said, that's what I've been looking for. That's what I want to see JEANTY do, is to just show the flash outside of just the good blocking. What else can he do on top of that? And he definitely showed it, and we're going to showcase that tomorrow without question. Daniel Kim, your cabinet already, brother. Start him, bench him, cut him might be coming out pretty soon. We're going to have fun. Tommy. Oh, John, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you throwing another super chat, brother. You said if Pete knows this, he'll do anything and everything to mess up our chance at a top pick. Maybe. I hope he doesn't. I hope just his integrity is good enough where, he won't. I think what's going to happen, though, if he sees the writing on the wall, that he is now going to be basically let go, or he's going to be forced to retire at the end of the season. I put out a couple shorts on social media basically stating that reports have come out that the Raiders are exploring options of a buyout situation, which would result in Pete retiring at the end of the season. And then Vinny Bonsignor, he basically he released a statement basically stating that the Raiders are trying to trade Geno at the end of the season before having to release him. And we all know that Geno is Pete's guy. Geno is Pete's guy. Pete has done everything possible to basically defend Geno at every step of the way. And so if the Raiders are already looking to trade him, I think that that's a pretty clear indication, or a good indication, that they might be willing to move on from Pete Carroll at the end of the season. So if that is the case, I can just see Pete Carroll going, look, if my days are numbered, I'm going to do everything possible to win, to kind of not save his legacy, because I don't think this is going to be a stain on his legacy, what he did with the Raiders this year. His legacy is far precedes this stint that he's had with the Raiders. But I could easily see him saying, look, I'm going to do everything possible to win these last 2 games, just to kind of go out on a high note. And I think that's what he might do. But with that injury by Minshew, if Minshew doesn't play and the Chiefs are down to their third quarterback, I think I read a stat, or somebody said that the quarterback that played and stepped in hasn't even thrown a pass in the NFL. I'm worried about that game if Minshew doesn't play. Now, Minshew isn't going to be the greatest quarterback in the world, but at least it gives them some potential to move the ball. I'm telling you, if Minshew doesn't play, I'm worried about that Chiefs game. I'll be dead honest. So, man, but John, I appreciate the super chat, brother. Tommy, CTE Pete said today in his presser, he's not worried about the number 1 pick. Obviously, he's still trying to win games. It's coaching malpractice. I saw that. We're going to talk about his presser. He did say that. Dominic, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you. What up, Kevin? Appreciate you rocking in here, man. Hopefully you heard about. I think you've always you're a member. I appreciate you. You've heard it before. This Sunday, I'm going to do a members only live, kind of in the tailgate. Even if you can't attend for that live, I'm going to give you guys more information as to when I'm going to go live, the time that I'm going to go live. But even if you can't catch the live, it will still be available to all members to view afterwards. But I'll definitely give you guys the time that I'll go live. And shout out, I think Leo's going to come out. LV Raider Nate is going to come out, and so it's going to be a good time. Bueno, man, I appreciate you being a member as well. You're saying, Tommy, what do you think about him saying, yeah, we're tanking and I'm running my reputation for. I mean, yes, Bueno, if he turned around and said that'd be wild. And I think Pete definitely had to say what he said, but it's hard to even. We're going to talk about the presser, but it's hard to even understand how the players feel about Pete right now. There's some people saying that the players are still playing for Pete and stuff like that, but you just see Pete's demeanor in the presser. It literally feels like your grandpa is just defeated. He just seems so defeated that I can't see him walking into a locker room and getting these, 24, 25, and obviously there's some older veterans in the building, but these young players motivated to just keep playing. I just don't see it. And again, you guys know I've coached the game for a long time. Like, your demeanor, your mannerisms, your vibe, your energy feeds off on the locker room. But we're going to talk about this Houston game, and obviously it was a close one, and I'm going to kind of give you my take on it. Pigs in the building. What's going on, man? Pete sounds like he's staying, and I don't see us firing him. We'll see. We will see what happens, man. You're also saying JEANTY pop for sure. Helps that the offense as a whole was functioning. Yes, he definitely popped without question. And when it happens, trust me, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to say it. And so we're going to see just kind of how it works out. Casanova Clark, what's going on, man? Geno will end up in Minnesota 2026. Book it. We'll see. Are they willing to take on that contract? Are they willing to trade for him? I put out a video as to whether or not a team would even be willing to give up draft capital to trade him because he's still under contract with us. They could, because the talks, and this is what's interesting about this whole scenario. If it's already public, because it was reported, I forget who it said. I think it was NBC Sports reported it. And if it is true, if it is true, no, I'm sorry. Vinny Bonsignore was the one that reported that the Raiders are looking to trade Geno before releasing him. So Vinny Bonsignore was the one that released that. Because that is now out there, because that's now released, I could see teams just waiting to release him. then they don't have to eat any guaranteed money. They can structure a contract on their own. We'll eat that guaranteed money by releasing him. He could be in Minnesota if we just flat out release him. And so I'd be really curious just how that would end up. But I really don't see any team willing to trade for Geno Smith right now. We'll end up releasing him. We'll eat that guaranteed money. And he'll be off the books. So we'll see. We'll see kind of how it works out. Let's see. DK, is Minshew ACL torn? Bueno, you're responding. Yes, he's out for the rest of the season. Okay, so I know that I was watching it late last night that they were speculating if it was an ACL, and so it looks like it. And so I'm going to tell you right now, that scares me for that Chiefs game. That scares me because I know people have said it, and I thought it could actually happen. Andy Reid could be a guy that very easily can play chess, not checkers. And he could easily let us win that game just to ruin our draft position. And that is definitely a chess, not checkers move. And so we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it works. Raiders News Central, what's going on, man? Appreciate you popping in here. Appreciate you rocking with me. Tommy, nobody's trading for Geno Smith. 18 touchdowns. I know. And to Casanova's point, right, he might just end up there. We might release him, eat that guaranteed money. He might end up over there. So we never know. Could happen. Wilbur, what's going on, man? Raiders got to be going QB in the first round. No. Here's my take on this, right? There are so many different ways that we can make this happen. I think that you have to, and it all starts with who the head coach is, to be dead honest, when it comes to just what I want to see at the end of the season. I don't want Pete Carroll to be here for so many reasons, and that's for another day. I'll jump into that in a little bit. But if Pete Carroll's not here, we go get ourselves an offensive-minded head coach. If we go get ourselves a Clint Kubiak, I know a lot of people like Mike LaFleur. Some people like Joe Brady. I definitely am leaning Clint Kubiak. I've been saying that for probably a couple months now. I'm leaning even more to Clint Kubiak. I really like what he's putting on paper. One thing, as much as Clint Kubiak has a lot of experience, and I love it, Mike LaFleur has a lot of experience as well. Has a really good history in the NFL, just like Clint Kubiak. The only reason why I put Clint Kubiak over Mike LaFleur as it stands right now is because Mike LaFleur isn't the actual game caller over there, right? He's not the actual offense coordinator. He has the title of offense coordinator, but we all know Sean McVay's calling those plays, and so we just don't know how that's going to translate when he's the one calling the plays. But we know Clint Kubiak is calling those plays. We know Clint Kubiak is the one orchestrating and organizing that offense, and so that's one of the reasons why I put Clint Kubiak over Mike LaFleur right now. Both of them have extremely good history, and I'd excited to have either one of them. But that's why I lean Clint Kubiak, because he's the play caller over there. A lot of people like Joe Brady, but you go back and look at Joe Brady and his history. He doesn't have extensive history in the NFL. He's doing a good job with that Bills offense. Don't get me wrong, but I want a head coaching candidate that has enough history in the NFL that they've seen regimes do it. They've seen the process. They've seen what it takes to kind of build championship caliber teams. Clint Kubiak was with Shanahan, and so they've seen it done. They've been a part of it. But again, I only put Clint Kubiak over Mike LaFleur right now is because he is the true play caller, and he's proving that he's orchestrating and organizing that offense. And we're seeing it done. So that's the only reason why I put it over him. But all that to say, and again, I'm sorry if you guys rock with me for the first time. You guys know, you ask a question, I can talk a lot on it. If we go Clint Kubiak, I'd like to see him get his quarterback early on. If you trade back a couple spots and you like Deontay Moore over like a Mendoza, but if that's your guy and you get him, I'd like to see him get the quarterback this year, because I also want to see a quarterback sit basically an entire season. I don't care if it's Mendoza at a certain spot. I don't care if it's the number one overall pick and you get a quarterback, or you get a quarterback at number 3. I want to see him sit for an entire season. The only caveat to that is that if you got like the last 2, maybe 3 games of the season, not a whole lot left to play for, maybe you've only won 6 games, and you want to get that young quarterback his feet wet in the last like 2 games and get him just real game time experience. I'd like to maybe see that where he gets some game time play in the last 2-3 games, because the benefit of giving a young quarterback playing time in the last 2, maybe 3 games is because you obviously can now allow him to see what it feels like to play in an NFL game, the speed of it, playing against starting caliber guys. Yes, you played in practice, but what you don't see in practice, even though he might be playing against starting caliber players because you're playing against your starting defense, you're also not seeing a defense scheme to you, trying to shut you down, trying to expose your weaknesses, right? So if you play a young quarterback, let's say the 3rd to last game or 2nd to last game, not only does he get to see the speed of the NFL, you get to see a defense that's now trying to play against you, but then you give him another week, maybe 2, for defenses to know you're the starting quarterback, and now they're going to scheme against you. And so you get just a little taste of it. But if you're not in the running for the playoffs, and there's no pressure on that quarterback to have to go in and win a game, you can make mistakes. You can learn from mistakes. And then you have the entire offseason to build and learn from those mistakes and learn. And so that's why I would be okay. As much as I'd like a quarterback to sit the entire season, a rookie quarterback, I'm okay with starting the last 2, maybe 3 games just to get that learning experience in. And now you can carry that into an offseason and build and improve off of it. I think that's how you build a young quarterback. And then hopefully during that offseason, he's ready. But by a young offensive-minded head coach, like, again, a Clint Kubiak, a Mike LaFleur, even a Joe Brady, if he does come over here. You guys know who I like. I think starting that process this year would be really good if that head coach likes that quarterback, if he likes the quarterback in the draft. Because if you don't start the process this year, one thing I will say is I think no matter what, you pick a quarterback. If you don't like the top quarterbacks, then I think you pick a quarterback at some point in this draft. And I'd like to see a quarterback picked maybe within the first 4 rounds. If you don't like the top guys, then I think you should pick a quarterback at least in the first 4 rounds. So then you can get a quarterback that does have potential. The quarterbacks that get drafted 5th, 6th, 7th, the likelihood that you're going to find a diamond in the rough is so slim that it's tough, right? So I think no matter what, you have to pick a quarterback in those first 4 rounds just to start the process with somebody. But the thing is if you don't start that process this year, then that means then you're starting the process next year. And then if you go that route of not starting the quarterback that first year, then we're basically 3 seasons away until we start to see this thing kind of turn around a little bit. So if we do get an offensive-minded head coach, I'd like for them, if they identify their quarterback, I want them to get it this year and start that process of trying to turn this franchise around with that guy you picked. And so, Wilbur, again, I'm sorry it's long-winded. I could talk a lot on subjects. I just try to bring the knowledge that I have of this game, playing it and coaching it. And so I can look at it in so many different ways that I apologize. I could talk on one topic for, 20, 30 minutes if you let me. But hopefully that answers a little bit of your quarterback, a little bit of your question. But it all starts with who the head coach is. If it's Pete Carroll, if he is the head coach, I'm just going to be very, I'm just not going to be very optimistic until I see it completely play out if we pick a quarterback early. Because the problem is that if Pete Carroll is still the head coach, I don't think Pete Carroll is going to be able to bring in high-end free agents this offseason unless you overpay the crap out of everybody. No top-end free agent that can go to multiple teams, right? If you're the top-end free agent, let me give you an example of Linderbaum, right? He's going to be probably the top-end center going into this year's free agency class. And the Ravens might bring him back, but I'm just using him as an example. If he's the top guy in free agency in that position, there's going to be 4 or 5 teams probably going after him. So why would they pick this team? Why would they pick the Raiders with Pete Carroll, knowing that he most likely is not going to be here for the next 3-4 years? His contract is going to be up in 3 years. I don't think he's going to last past next year, even if we do bring him back. But top end free agents want to sign a 3 or 4 year contract, and they want stability. We can't provide that with them, knowing that we're going to potentially move on from our head coach if Pete is still here. And so if we move on from Pete Carroll and the next head coach comes in, what's it to say that that next head coach, Linderbaum, doesn't fit what he wants to do, or a receiver doesn't fit what they want him to do, or an interior defensive lineman? If we bring in a top tier interior defensive lineman and Pete Carroll is fired or retired by the end of next season, that top free agent, you might bring him in because you want to run a 4-3 scheme, but the next head coach wants to run a 3-4 and he doesn't fit the scheme. Those top-end free agents want stability as well, most likely. And why would you come here knowing that we can't provide you with that when you have other options to choose from? So if Pete Carroll is still this head coach, and this is why I want to move on from him, but if Pete Carroll is still that head coach and we go with a quarterback very early, I'm not going to be very optimistic just kind of how it's going to play out. Because again, if we move on from Pete Carroll, what if that next head coach isn't a fan of the quarterback we just picked, early in the first round, whether it be the number 1 pick? What happens if that head coach doesn't like him? Then it's just another wasted first round draft pick. So let's move on. Let's wipe the ship and let's start fresh. Let's set this thing up as much as possible to get the top head coaching candidate in here, and let's start that process. So again, apologize, long-winded. Wilbur, sign Pickens and draft quarterback. The only thing I don't like about Pickens is one, I just don't like. I'm not sure. We need to clear our shit up before we can bring in somebody like that just isn't mentally strong. He can be a head case if you don't have the right foundation, and we just don't have it. So we need to be completely different of a foundation, an organization to take on someone that could easily be a cancer in the locker room if you allow him to be that. So that's why I'm very hesitant to bring in Pickens. PDL, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you being a member in the building. Raiders playing like they did Sunday will beat the Giants and Chiefs. My thoughts about Pete in the draft. You draft players who fit the theme you could possibly be rebuilding again after Pete is done. And SpyTek could do that, right? I think SpyTek, as much as he tried to bring in some players that matched what Pete Carroll wanted, like Darren Porter. Darren Porter was a prototypical corner that Pete Carroll wanted. So you can see where SpyTek allowed Pete to obviously have input on the draft. He brought in, and not just the draft, but free agency. He brought in Geno Smith. But you can also clearly see that SpyTek moved in the realm of rebuild. He went bargain shopping in our linebacker room. He went bargain shopping in almost every defensive position. Alice Kappa was bargain shopping without question. And so, Stone Forsythe as a backup tackle was bargain shopping. And so you could be right in a sense that SpyTek might try to obtain players in free agency as well as draft players that might go towards more of a rebuild, or maybe go in a direction that he sees this team needs to go in, as opposed to what Pete Carroll wants. If he's still around, we might see that happen. Man, but I appreciate you popping in here now, being a member. Calvin Lurker. Yeah, Pete is less chippy with his answers. He just seems so defeated, man. And we're going to talk about it here in just a second, man. I've already been on here for half an hour. We haven't even gotten to some of the topics I want to talk about. Appreciate y'all. Y'all in the building. Appreciate you, man. What's going on, brother? Let's see. Oh, Tommy, man. All right, man. Yes. Peace out. I appreciate you popping in for a minute. Time to drink those 805s. Hey, I'll be drinking some on the strip later this evening, man. Appreciate you. Picks, you like Minter. If we went defensive-minded head coach, because Minter, again, he doesn't have as much experience in the NFL, and that's what I want. That's what I look at as in a head coach. How much experience do you have? And I'm telling you, as much as I like Brian Flores, Robert Saleh has all the experience in the world. Just like Brian Flores. Brian Flores not only has head coaching experience, but he's been an assistant head coach. I mean, he's got, I want to say he's got history dating back to like 2003, I believe, in the NFL. And so I like Minter. He's doing really good things. But I just don't like his experience in the NFL. I want him to have much more experience in the NFL. And if you're going to go defensive minded, without question, I'd go Brian Flores or Robert Saleh, because not only do they have the experience, they have the reputation that you could go get a top end offensive minded head coach that isn't going to overstep a Brian Flores or Robert Saleh because they have the experience in the NFL. Whereas Minter, because he's still a young-minded coach and doesn't have all the experience, imagine if he tries to go get, I don't know if he can go get a Daboll. I don't know if Daboll would go and coach underneath him because he's still considered just a young kid in this NFL world, right? And so I just don't know how much pull Minter would have on getting a top-tier offensive-minded head coach like a Daboll. I don't know who else is out there right now. I mean, I don't think he might get fired. I don't know. But if Mike McDaniels gets fired, would he go with a Minter as a head coach? And so I don't know. I don't think he would. Or if they did, I think that they would try to have more say and more pull because they have more experience than a Minter. But I don't think that they can overtake a Brian Flores or overtake a Robert Saleh. I think that they would come in knowing the role because of what those guys command inside of a front office, coaching room, locker room. So that would be why I would lean more towards Brian Flores and Robert Saleh. And that's also why I don't think this organization is ready. Some people talk about bringing a college coach in here. I don't want that at all. I think we need somebody that knows the ins and outs of this NFL thing, that demands the respect of other high-end, well-respected coaches so you can build that coaching staff. That's, I think, what we need. I don't think we need somebody that doesn't understand how the NFL works and is learning throughout that process. We need someone experienced in here to change this organization around. I think a lot of us thought that's what Pete Carroll would bring, but I think the time has kind of passed him, unfortunately. Rose Town, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping in here as well. Just random 1:30 Pacific time live. I'm gonna be on here for about another hour, man. We're gonna chop it up about this Houston game, man. Wilbur, using that logic of sitting a rookie for a season, maybe get Jameis. That's not a bad. I'll even give you. Sorry, I might be low in the chat. I'm gonna jump in. Jameis could be. Sorry, I'm gonna finish off the comment. Sure, he throws some picks, but he also can move the sticks. Great potential and teammate. Okay. And here's the thing: is if we bring in a veteran, let's say we let Geno go, right? You still have Aiden O'Connell on this roster for one more year. I know Cam Miller. We drafted him, but I don't see him. I know he's not the future. I'm sorry. I know he had that one good game, but look, it's preseason. A lot of people sat in the emotion of that game, but they didn't understand exactly what that game was. It's preseason. He flashed, but he came back down to earth the next week. Like, he comes from a small school. It's going to take him a lot of development to even show some potential. That doesn't even mean he could be a starter in the National Football League. But Cam Miller's still there. What I want in a veteran quarterback, and this is why, even if Geno's on here, I have pondered the thought of Geno staying on this team as a veteran quarterback. You draft a young one, but you move on from Pete Carroll. I wonder what kind of quarterback Geno would be if you take Pete Carroll out of the scenario. Right now, Geno knows he has a crutch. Geno has a safety blanket in Pete Carroll, so he feels he's safe. If you take the safety blanket out of Pete Carroll, if you take the crutch out of Geno Smith and move on from Pete Carroll, will Geno Smith actually perform a little bit better? Maybe. It's like taking a helicopter parent away from the kid, right? When the kid knows the helicopter parent is there, they're going to do whatever they want because they know the parent's going to be there to kind of keep them safe. But the moment you remove the parent, then they might be more in their P's and Q's. They might do things to ensure their safety a little bit more because they know the parent isn't there to save them, right? And so That's one thing I pondered. But based on some of the Geno's antics, based on what we've seen throughout the season, I don't think Geno possesses what I want in a veteran quarterback to help prepare the next quarterback. I don't think Geno Smith would be a guy that would be like, hey, I'm going to help this young buck learn the NFL, prepare so you can take my job next season. I don't think Geno's in that space. I think Geno Smith is still trying to prove he's a starting quarterback in the National Football League. So, to your point, if you bring in a guy like Jameis Winston, I wouldn't mind it. I think Jameis Winston knows he's a backup quarterback in the league from here on out. I want somebody that knows he's a backup quarterback, knows his role, understands that you're going to be a role model and you're going to be a teacher of the next quarterback. I think Jameis can do that. I think Marcus Mariota would also be a guy that could do that. But I also want a quarterback that goes in the game and understands this is what I need to do for this team. I need to just try to keep you in the game. I'm not going to be here to win you every game. I don't need to take those chances and try to win you a game. All I need to do is try to maintain the ball. I need to secure the football, minimize the turnovers, try to move the chains, sustain some drives. And if I can score us 21 to 24 points a game, then we can show improvement. It's all about showing improvement. It's not about making the playoffs next season. If you get a young offensive-minded head coach and you get your quarterback, but you start a veteran for the season, it's not about making the playoffs. If you do, that's great. But it's about showing improvement. If you can get to 6 wins, then that's showing improvement. And it's also not about just 6 wins around that number. It's also showing you are competitive. I think that's the biggest issue that I have with Pete Carroll this year is that we're not even competitive. It goes to the Houston game that I was going to talk about. If we were 2-16 or 2-14, whatever we are, 2-13, if we were 2-13 and we were just more competitive, if we saw more games like this Houston game, if we were more competitive against the Colts, if we were more competitive against the Chiefs, if we were more competitive against the Commanders, then it would look much different. The 2-13 record is not great, but if we were competitive, I think all of us can confidently say that the feeling might be a little different. But because we've been blown out more times in one season than we've had, I think, in the last 40 years combined, it's just a horrible look. And it just shows that the dysfunction that we've seen in this entire season shows that it's time to move on from Pete Carroll. But I say that all to basically say if we can bring a veteran quarterback that understands their role and willing to teach the next guy, knowing that you're most likely to be the backup next year, I think Jameis would be great. I think Marcus Mariota would be great. And if we have an offensive-minded head coach or defensive-minded, but we draft our quarterback, and this is the guy we're rocking with, I think a lot of us, fan base, can swallow a 6-win season as long as we're competitive, but we know we have started the process. I think all of us can kind of swallow that. And let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know. But I'm with you. I think that Jameis could be a very good option. Also, a guy I liked was Jacoby Brissett with the Josh McDaniels years. I thought Jacoby Brissett could have been a great bridge quarterback. He's with the Cardinals. I actually think that they're looking to. I don't know if they have to extend him or re-sign him. He's not a free agent. He's not on the free agent list. So I think that they might end up extending him. But if he ever became available, then he's definitely a guy I would take a shot at bringing in. So, Dre, what's going on, brother? I don't know if I said what's up to you. I appreciate you rocking in here. I definitely want to say what's up to everybody else. If you guys can, double tap that screen. I want to get into the game with the Houston, and at the end, we're going to chop it up. I'll be on here probably until about 3 o'clock Pacific time. Because again, got to jump over, have the parents in town. I'm gonna watch Monday Night Football with my old man. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun. John Parker, what's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking in here. Remember, if you have a question or comment to what I'm talking about, do me a huge favor. Hit that hashtag Raider. Hit that hashtag Raiders. Between YouTube and Twitter, got almost 100 people in the building. The chats fly. Hit that hashtag Raiders. It'll catch my eye. I definitely appreciate it. Jason in the building. What's going on, brother? I truly believe that if Pete is brought back this year, it was intentional. Maybe. I'll tell you. I hope that what we've seen, the shuffling of this offensive line, just the mind games we played with the offensive line, that tells me that I think that that tells me that they were trying to do something that they thought would work by shuffling the offensive line and doing all that stuff, and so and even when it wasn't working, it was shocking to me the comment that Pete Carroll made when they moved Jordan Meredith back to guard. And when they moved him back to guard, one of the beat reporters asked him, what made you move Jordan Meredith back to guard? And Pete Carroll's response was, because he played so well last year. And I'm like, if you played so well this year, why the hell did you put him at guard at center in the first place? And so to me, that if you put all the moves that they made in the offseason with the shuffling offensive line, and then that comment right there, it tells me that you just didn't know what you were doing. You couldn't see the talent you had in front of you and continue the success that we had last season towards the tail end of the season, right? The last 3, 4, maybe even 5 games of last year, you saw the offensive line really start to come together and start to show progress. And then everything just regressed, and you shuffled everything up. And we all knew, and I was the first one to say it. I don't know why you moved to Jordan Meredith to center when he's an undersized offensive lineman to start. Jordan Meredith relies on his technique. That's where he relies on. He's not a mauler. He's not going to drive you, 7 yards into the second level. He's not going to do that. But he relies on his technique, and that's what he showed last year. But when you now put him at center where he has to snap the ball and then get into his technique, and he's never played center before, you're taking away from his ability to utilize his technique. Now he's got to snap the ball and then get out of his stance, then get his arms up. You're just delaying his inability to get into his technique as quickly as possible, which is what allowed him to do well last year. And so I think just the shuffling up of everything and then the comment he made, I think just tells me that I think a lot of what they did was intentional, and their judgment was completely off. And so you might be right. If they bring him back, it might have been intentional. But the reports that are coming out, the NBC Sports report of them basically discussing or potentially negotiating a buyout situation for Pete Carroll where he retires at the end of the season, and then Vinny Bonsignore coming out saying that they're exploring every option to trade Geno before releasing him. You put those two together, I think that tells me that there's a good chance we might not have Pete Carroll. I could be wrong, but if we do bring him back, Jason, if it was intentional and Pete can turn this thing around, then, man, hopefully. Troy in the building. What's going on, man? Who wants to keep firing? Who wants to keep firing head coaches after a season? I don't want to keep firing head coaches, but there's so many reasons why we need to. I hate the revolving door head coaches, but I think in this situation, we've put ourselves in this situation. The 74-year head coach that has shown absolute dysfunction this entire season, blowouts, and we haven't even been competitive. It's just been constant blowouts. I think it's time. And I've said so many reasons why. I don't think free agents would want to come here, top-end free agents. I don't, you need to create a foundation where a top-end free agent would be willing to come here. I don't think we even have that with Pete Carroll. So I think we need to get somebody in, but we need to make this job position so enticing that a top-end free agent or head coach would consider it. What up, GeoMax? What's going on, brother? I appreciate you, man. SpyTek really has to take ownership and set the new course. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. GeoMax, I see your question, man. I'm going to get down there to you. I appreciate everybody rocking out here. I'm going to get to the rest of the comments here. Again, I'm just flowing through. We're going to get to, anytime I comment on a solo, I like to address the questions. I like to give you my feedback. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I don't go solo a lot, but hey, I took the next 2 weeks off of work outside of the holidays. I'm going to try to come on here a little bit more, do some solos, but we will go live in the Raider War Room tomorrow to break down game film a day early because obviously Wednesday is Christmas Eve. So I want everybody to, I'm going to be enjoying my family. That's for sure. But SpyTek really has to take ownership and set the new course. He does. As a GM, you have to. I 100% agree. And this is the only reason why. Guys like Mike Tomlin, right? If he's for some reason let go, which I don't think they will, I think the Steelers, because he's gonna go down and probably have another winning season, they may not let him go. But if by chance it does happen, if Tomlin's out there, I know people are throwing Gruden's name out there. Those type of head coaches, because Spytek is a young GM, he's a young GM. It's his second year. It's going to be a second season next year. He's still learning. I think Spytek has to grab the reins. I think he has to be able to make the decisions that he feels right in his heart that is right for this organization in the pathway forward. Because you have to be able to point to somebody when it goes wrong. And I think what happened is he let Pete Carroll just give a little too much input, and he allowed Pete Carroll too much leeway to sway his decision making. Now you want to work together with the head coach. That's obvious, but I think he's helped because of Pete Carroll's experience, because he's going to go down as a Hall of Fame head coach. I think Spytek maybe leaned too much on him, and that's my fear with Tomlin. If Tomlin comes in, because he has been around the block, because he knows this so well, and because he's coming from an organization that has done it so well, I think that he might come in and try to just overtalk Spytek, or just kind of give him that treatment of, hey, I know what I'm doing. You step aside on this one. That's my fear. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in, but that's my fear that he would do. That's the same thing with John Gruden. I think John Gruden would come in here, and not only would he do that, but I also think that if John Gruden were to come in here and be the next head coach, which I don't want, if he doesn't agree with what Spytek does and Spytek pushes back and says, this is the direction you're going, you know that John Gruden will go straight to markdavis's ear and said, hey, he's not agreeing. This is why I think it should happen. And what's Markdavis going to do? He's going to let John Gruden take the show over once again, because he is going to lean on John Gruden. And so I don't want that. I want the proper chain of command. I've said that ever since I've been on this YouTube thing, going through the Antonio Pierce hiring and all that stuff. Since I came in early 2023 when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. I want the proper chain of command. The GM needs to play their role properly. The head coach needs to play their role properly, and everybody needs to be held accountable. And if you bring in a guy like Tomlin, I don't think that's the case. And if you bring in a guy like John Gruden, he's going to have Markdavis's ear so goddamn deep that now you don't even know what's actually happening and who's actually making the decisions. So that's what I want. I lean towards a younger-minded head coach that has the experience in the NFL that you can take a very good calculated risk on that. Going young is always a risk, but it's at least a calculated risk based on their experience. Geo Max, what are your thoughts on Mike LaFleur? Okay, I kind of said it before. I like Mike LaFleur. Again, it goes to experience. He's got a ton of experience. He was under McVay. He was under Shanahan. The experience is there. The only reason why I lean Clint Kubiak is because Kubiak has just as much experience. Both of them are on the same age. They have the same experience and length of experience in the NFL. The only difference, the reason why I lean Kubiak is because Mike LaFleur has the title of offensive coordinator, but Sean McVay is calling those plays. Sean McVay is the coordinator of that offense. He organizes that offense. He's what makes that thing run. Whereas Clint Kubiak, we know he is the play caller. He's the offensive coordinator over there with Seattle Seahawks, and he's making that offense run. It's just like why I really liked Ben Johnson, is because Ben Johnson, you knew he was the play caller. There was no question who was calling plays. It's like back in the day with people like Eric Bieniemy and stuff like that. And look, Eric Bieniemy, he had the title of offensive play caller, but we all knew Andy Reid was the play caller. That's the only reason why I lean Clint Kubiak, because you know for sure who's orchestrating that offense. Where Mike LaFleur, there is a question mark. Can he bring over what Sean McVay is doing and can coordinate it the same way and get the same or similar results? That's the only reason why I lean Clint Kubiak. I don't want to say only, but that's probably one of the main differences between those two. So again, hit that hashtag Raiders. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Picks. I really like Robert Saleh and Brian Flores, but a young guy will get more grace and as long as there's progress. I think if you bring in a Robert Saleh and Brian Flores, I don't think that there's a grace between those guys and a younger guy. I think you still give them the same amount of time. That the next head coach that comes in here, and this is why I think if you move on Pete Carroll, you better get your guy. You better set this thing up, and you might even. And this is why if you get a young Clinton Kubiak, or if you like Minter, let's say Minter is the guy, right? Because I think you mentioned Minter. If you get your guy, I could care less if it's your top. If you let Pete Carroll go, you better get the guy. But let's say you don't. Let's say it's the fourth or fifth option. Well, that's your mistake. That's your mistake, Markdavis. Like, you didn't read it right. Just like Tom Brady didn't read the Ben Johnson situation right. You rolled out the red carpet. You cleaned the front office. You let AP and Tom Telesco go, and you wanted Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, he wasn't even a thought. He gave you a sympathy or a courtesy interview because of Tom Brady, and then he took the first flight out to Chicago. And then you interviewed coaches. They didn't want the job. All the other head coaching candidate opportunities, there's 5 other openings that all the other top candidates didn't want us. Head coaches refused to interview with us, and you had to settle with Pete Carroll because nobody wanted Pete Carroll and nobody wanted us. And so even if you move on from Pete Carroll, I could care less if it's your first guy or your fifth guy on your head coaching list. You need to give the guy a minimum of 3 years. You have to give him a minimum of 3 years. As much as I'm not a fan of what Spytek did in free agency in the draft, I'm not a fan of the players that he chose and where he chose them. But in effort to correct the dysfunction that we've shown as an organization in the last 20 years of just recycling head coaches, I'm okay with keeping John Spytek because he's young. Let's let him grow. Let's let him learn from his mistakes. But this next head coach has to be given 3 years minimum. And so I could care less if Minter or Robert Saleh or Brian Flores or another young head coach. You have to give him 3 years to show that you are willing to give a head coach the time that it takes to potentially build a foundation and point us in the direction of success. Give him time to build the foundation. If you don't, then we're going to continue to have this stain where other head coaches will not want to come here because we recycle way too much. We have to end that, and I think that begins with the next head coach after Pete Carroll. So, again, hit that hashtag Raiders. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's see. Elijah in the building. What's going on, man? Yes, it's only been a year for Geno Smith. Let's see. Raider Wing in the building. What's going on, man? What about Malik Willis? He's going to end up starting somewhere and maybe draft a quarterback and bring Willis. Okay. And again, I'm behind. I apologize. You might have heard me already kind of rant about it, but the reason why I don't like a young quarterback, it's like, this is why I don't like Kenny Pickett. A lot of people have said, look, bring back Kenny Pickett for one more year, and he could potentially be a bridge quarterback. When you bring in a young quarterback like that still is striving to be the starter, you don't know if they're going to help. If you draft a young quarterback, you don't know if that young veteran quarterback, I call them veteran just because they've been in the league more than a couple years. If you bring in a Malik Willis, I don't know if he's willing to teach the younger quarterback. He's still going to want to fight for a starting position. He's still going to want to prove that he is a starter in the league, which means it might lead to mistakes in the game. When they even play in the game, they will try to prove they're a starting caliber quarterback, which could lead to mistakes if they can't prove it, which, again, is going to lead to maybe blowout wins. The defense is going to get gassed. Now it's lopsided scores. It's just tough, right? If you're going to draft a young quarterback, bring in somebody, a veteran that can start, that knows their role, and is willing to teach the younger quarterback. Some of these young quarterbacks that have been in the league already, like a Malik Willis, like a Kenny Pickett, I don't think they're willing to teach the next guy. I don't think they would be. They're still trying to fight for starting position. So that's why I lean more towards veteran that knows they're a backup and they'll know their role on this roster moving forward. So Kevin Larker, you're saying I like Jameis on the team. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Yes, he's a turnover machine, which is so tough to deal with, but you also know that he has those other traits. He'll build the next guy. He'll be a great locker room guy. Man, he'll go to bat for the locker room as much as Pete has gone to bat for Geno. So he's a locker room guy. Geo Max, I'd trade down, build the team around a future quarterback, but for now, start AOC. Why not? Cost is cheap. Draft a quarterback in 2027. Just remember though, is you could still build around a young quarterback and take one this year, right? If he sits the entire year, that means you have this offseason, this draft to build, and next offseason free agency and draft to build. So even if you take a quarterback early this year, you still have 2 full off seasons of free agents and drafts to build around that quarterback. And so if you bring a young offensive-minded head coach or a young coach in the building and you draft a quarterback early, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind. You still have the opportunity to draft as long as you sit that quarterback. And again, you could bring that quarterback in, that young rookie quarterback, the last couple games just to kind of get his feet wet in the NFL if there isn't any pressure of making the playoffs. And so I think you can still do that. Now, this might ruffle some feathers, but I'll tell you right now, I'd be completely willing. And look, I'd be willing to, if you bring in a young head coach and you want more draft capital, I think that's when you potentially explore the option of moving on from maxxcrosby to stockpile that draft capital, start the full rebuild process. Don't half-ass it. Start that rebuild process. I'm not saying trade him. I'm saying explore the option of doing it to acquire more draft capital. And that's if you got a quarterback early and you wanted more draft capital. You could do it differently where you keep Max, young offensive-minded head coach, young defensive-minded head coach, and then you just trade back, obtain that draft capital differently, and then, yes, maybe you get a quarterback later. But I'd be willing to trust the process if you got a young offensive-minded head coach in the building and they just got their guy. Wherever that is, they got their guy. So it's just part of us as fans having to try to trust the process. Red Wing is playing Geno is ridiculous at this point. Let pick and play. I think we know that won't happen with Pete Carroll in the building. But man, salute to everybody in the building. Appreciate y'all. Rebel in the building. What's going on, brother? Hey, appreciate you, man. I think I saw you going live a lot, man. Guys, go over to Rebel. Show some love, show some support, man. He's always going live. It's always good seeing content creators out there, man. Why would the Raiders go pay money for a backup quarterback to win 5 or 6 games when they have AOC in the building at $1.4 million that could do the same or better? Because you're most likely going to need another quarterback. Yes, we have Cam Miller in there, but my thing is, I'd be willing to invest the money in a veteran quarterback to teach the next guy. Aiden O'Connell's still young. Aiden O'Connell still has learning himself to do. You know what I'm saying? And so if you draft a young quarterback early in this year's draft, I want a veteran that's going to come in and teach him. That doesn't mean that veteran has to come in and play. You can play Aiden O'Connell. That's fine. But I would invest that money. Don't look at it as investing money into that veteran and you're wasting money. If you draft a young quarterback, think of it as you're investing money in the development of that young quarterback you just drafted. That's how I look at it. I'm not saying pour money in so that he's an instant starter. Like you could start Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell's still going to battle for a position on this team, and he's going to battle for the starting position because he's still young. But that's what Aiden O'Connell's going to do. He's going to battle for the starting position. But I still look at Aiden O'Connell as a young quarterback that still has learning to do himself. And so even Aiden O'Connell can benefit from a veteran quarterback coming into the building like a Jameis Winston, like a Marcus Mariota, that can help him learn and develop as well. So, Rebel, let me know if that makes sense. It's not about just spending, random money on a veteran quarterback. Look at it as investing in a young quarterback and the development of them if you draft them early. That's how I look at it, and I think that's how it should be looked at moving forward. And again, Aiden O'Connell can benefit from it as well because Aiden O'Connell has a lot of learning to do himself. That's why I don't think Aiden O'Connell is the right guy. He's not going to teach a young quarterback everything that quarterback potentially needs to know because he has more learning to do. So look, I look at it that way. Again, let me know if you agree or disagree. Pigs for sure. Try and let's stock in some 2026 draft class. Remember, we're also going to get some compensation picks. We got comp picks this year. You never know, we might get some comp picks next year. We have a lot of picks this year, so you can actually trade away some of these comp picks this year to get more picks next year, which will allow you to move around in next year's draft, or sorry, the 2026 draft. Sorry, no, 2027 draft. So we can move, man. It's not about who you pick and where you pick them. It's about how you navigate the draft. I think Spytek did a very good job of navigating the draft last year. I don't like the guys that he picked. They weren't high on my list, but I love the way that he navigated. And you can do that in these drafts, and you can acquire draft picks in order to do that. So it's going to be interesting. Gaslighting Pete, for sure. Dre, the O-line was messed up from the beginning. Yeah. And I think it started with them. Let's do it. It started with Brendan Carroll being the offensive line coach. He is not qualified for it without question. But it's also the shuffling of it, just the mind games that they played. And we don't know. I think JPJ could be a good guard, but we don't know how good he is at center. He was a rookie last year. You got to see him develop. He could be a damn good center. I think he could be a damn good guard, but I just don't know how much we've kind of hurt his development with just regressing and moving him around like we did. And Dre, you think I think the idea was Chip Kelly moving Meredith to center? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. And yeah, you're saying you were thinking about that yesterday, Geno versus Aiden O'Connell. What do you want for a bridge quarter? Yeah. But hopefully what I said made sense about Aiden O'Connell and bringing in, a veteran quarterback. It's more about investing into your young quarterbacks and having that veteran presence, because Aiden O'Connell doesn't have that veteran presence in order to teach the young quarterbacks and even teach himself, right? He has a lot of learning to do. But I think Aiden O'Connell can benefit from that as well. So I definitely say look at it as an investment. Meredith and James getting pushed around the past few years. It's really not helping our offense. Not last year. Meredith wasn't getting pushed around last year. This year, it was a tough goal for him, without question. But I blame that on coaching. I blame that on his inexperience at the center position. So, but last year, he wasn't getting pushed around. He was a very, very technically sound guard, which helped them. Again, not a mauler. He's not gonna be pushing people around, but he was very technically sound, which helped him a lot. Red Ring, as soon as he hired his kids, we should have known that. And one thing I want to mention, and shit, I haven't even talked about the game. One thing I want to mention was, if you notice how many times I've been noticing it all season, but I noticed it after the challenge that Pete Carroll had yesterday. He threw the challenge flag. Old man Pete couldn't even get the challenge flag onto the field of play, which was wild. He dropped it on the sideline. But after that, or when they were challenging the play, Pete's kid, the assistant quarterback coach, he is always in Pete's ear on the sideline. He's constantly in Pete's ear on the sideline. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's talking about, but I don't know why he's constantly talking to his son. Dane, that tells me that his son just has way too much influence. If that's the guy constantly in your ear. And so it's I have a hard time with that. And I think that's why, Raider Wing, to your point, as soon as he hired his kids, we should have known. I know. And I keep seeing it, and it's tough. It is tough. Troy, man, what about Mike McCarthy as head coach? He wouldn't be top on my list. Mike McCarthy as an offensive coordinator. Maybe he'd be willing to come in and do that. I wouldn't mind seeing him as maybe an offensive coordinator with a Brian Flores or a Robert Saleh. I wouldn't mind seeing that. As a head coach, he'd probably be behind a Tomlin or Brian Flores and Saleh. Could he be on the list? Yeah, but at some point, probably like my seventh choice. And so, but yeah, I hope it's not. But I wouldn't. The hard part about Mike McCarthy is that if he's given another chance outside of the umbrella of Jerry Jones, could he find some success? Maybe he could. But I wouldn't be extremely excited if Mike McCarthy was here. I wouldn't mind it because you get an offensive-minded head coach. You can get him a quarterback. He's young enough now where you could build. He could be the head coach the next 12 years, 13 years. So I wouldn't be opposed to the direction, but he just wouldn't be the top of my list. And so I'd be cautiously optimistic, if that makes sense. Rebel, 33 mil wasted on Geno. With the way this team has played in a couple different games, imagine if we use that 33 mil on the offensive line. I mean, yes, like I wasn't a fan of Geno. I understood the move by Pete Carroll. Let's put it that way. Like I understood what they wanted to do. It was a win now mentality. You wanted a quarterback that could not necessarily. I never said Geno could win you a game, but I thought Geno could keep you in a game. And so I understand the mindset and direction. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And yes, it's a shit ton of wasted money. And, it just didn't work. Rebel, I just want to make sure if you're responding to that comment, if you have any feedback on that. But Rebel, you're saying, what does the team look like if they would have just went with Aiden O'Connell, we would have been years ahead already. It just doesn't make sense to keep pushing this kid to the back. And if we would have not spent on Geno and kept Aiden O'Connell and invested more in that offensive line, I'm 100% with you. Like I would have been all for that because for the last 2 seasons, I've been the massive advocate of building this offensive line in the trenches, whether through the draft or free agency. And we just haven't gone that route. And it's honestly, it's pissed me off. And so, and if we would have rocked with Aiden O'Connell, I would have liked to see what Aiden O'Connell looked like with a good offensive line, with good protection. Let's just see what the kid has. I'm not going to come around here and say Aiden O'Connell is going to be, has what it takes to be the next starter for the next 12 years. That's not what I'm going to say because you never know that with a young developing quarterback. But what we can say is that, and I'll even say it with Geno, like we have not been able to give any quarterback that has played over the last few years any viable, true weapons, consistent weapons as it relates to not just, a running game. Yes, Brock Bowers came in last year. We had Devontae Adams, but last year it was a complete waste because he wanted out from the get-go. You got Jacoby Myers, but then outside of that, it's a bunch of, no-names practice squad guys. We have not been able to give a quarterback a true foundation to potentially succeed, and it starts with the offensive line. You have to protect them and keep them upright, and we haven't been able to do that for the last, handful of seasons, which is tough. So to give Aiden O'Connell a good offensive line to see what he can do, I would be all for it. But I also think that you still need to address the quarterback in this year's draft. I'd like to see him, if we bring an offensive-minded head coach, let them get a quarterback in here. And at the end of the day, let Aiden O'Connell compete. But it also goes to my point, bringing a veteran that could help teach these guys and be willing to do that. What up, Jack? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you, man. Just a random live. I got 40 minutes. I haven't even started talking about the goddamn game, man. But I want to do that. So I want to say what's up to everybody. John in the building. Tom Brady will not hire Gruden. It's either Joe Brady or Brian Dable. Ja, all right, you like those two? I like Clint Kubiak for a lot of reasons. Not sure if you're around when I said it, but that's who I like. What up, Jeff? What's going on, man? A random live. Remember, guys, tomorrow we're gonna go live in the war room a day early on Tuesday. We're gonna chop it up some game film, man. But yeah, shout out to you, Jeff, man. Appreciate you being a member. I'm gonna do some this weekend. I'm gonna do a members only live at the tailgate, man. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully the connection's good, but man, appreciate you being a member, guys. Go over to Jeff. I don't know if you're going live today, but go over to Jeff's channel. Always going live, man. Appreciate you rocking with me. Let's see. Raiders, LaFleur called plays in New York. Yeah, he did. He did have the 1 year of calling plays. And it was hard to kind of judge off that year. He had, I think it was Garrett Wilson over there. And so kind of first year play card, it was really hard to understand just what kind of play caller he could have been because it was just the first year rookie quarterback. And so it's hard to judge him off of that 1 year. But again, it goes to you're seeing what Clint Kubiak can do. And so that's why I kind of lean that way. Rocky in the building. What's going on, man? Robert Sala and Brian Forrest, you like them? Let's see. Just want to make sure I kind of get down to the chat before I rock out with this game. Truth Finest. Aloha. What's going on, brother, man? Appreciate you. My two in the building. Most head coaches given such consideration. Most head coaches given such consideration when falling flat in their face in year one. Some pick up from where last year fell off and compete day one. Yes. You got to give them a year to kind of mold to what they want, right? And I think that's what's been so hard with this year with Pete Carroll, because it's not just, again, if we were 2-14, but we were a competitive 2-14 like we saw yesterday, and you can just see that this team is fighting, and you removed all the dysfunction, then I think it would feel different. It'd still look bad, but it would feel different. And we've just been blown out too many times. We've been embarrassed too many times, and you can kind of point to certain things that have gone on in this locker room. You're sitting there going, "Oh shit!" Like the coaching staff is creating some of this dysfunction, and so that's why I think it's time to move on. As much as you want to give a coach a year to kind of help mold, and not really expect wins that first year, I think it's time to move on from Pete, and let's start that process starting next year. Jeff, man, I appreciate you giving memberships, man. Again, memberships. Also, if you are a member, you can throw out suggestions on who you want us to break down game film on. Free agents, as well as college prospects. We're going to be doing that in the offseason, as well as the start them, bench them, cut them. Just so you guys know. So appreciate you, Jeff, man, throwing out those memberships, man. It's going to be fun, man. Hopefully everybody can kind of get involved in that and definitely shout those, provide those suggestions. What up, Isaiah? Let's see. Let me kind of get down to make sure I kind of say what's up to as many people that's in the building. Let's see. John, another super chat, man. Appreciate you. 5 Geno will not help or want to teach any new quarterback. And I agree. That he doesn't strike me as that guy. So I 100% agree with you. And that's why I think as much as he could be a veteran presence, I'd be curious how he would play without the security blanket of Pete Carroll. But I agree. I don't think he'd be a guy that would teach the next guy. And that's why I think it's time. I wouldn't want him in this building. It's kind of time to move on. And I think the reports, if true, we see him exit the building at the end of the offseason. But I appreciate the super chat. Geno is not the type of veteran I think I want in the building to teach the next guy. Pepper, Tone, what's going on, man? Appreciate you. Shout out to you, man. We're going to go live tomorrow. If you pop in, we're going to chop it up about this Houston game. And I haven't even started talking about it, and I got to get to it. Show Deuce, what's going on, man? What about Minter? I kind of talked about it. I don't know if you heard me talk about it. Go back, rewind a little bit. I talked about Minter and why I would lean towards other guys. And if I'm running a 4-hour show tonight, I know I try to just talk and address. I don't go live, but remember, I took the next 2 weeks off of work, man. I'm enjoying the holidays, but I'm gonna jump on and do some more lives. Might do one on Friday randomly throughout the day. I'm definitely doing early next week as well, because look, it's gonna be my time to jump on with you guys and chop it up. So, but I am heading to the Strip to go watch Monday Night Football with the old man, and so that's why I couldn't go live yesterday. They came out here. Shout out to my parents. They actually were staying home for Christmas. They live about 4.5 hours away, but they drove the presents over for my kids, and so they're staying here. And so that they did that randomly, and so that's why I didn't go live yesterday. So I definitely want to talk about this game. So shout out to you. I'm doing more lives the next couple of weeks. DJ, what's going on, man? What do you think about Jesse Minter? I kind of talked about that. Definitely after this, rewind if you can. Go check that out. I gave you just why I go with a guy like Clinton Kubiak over a Minter, and I'd even go with Brian Flores or Sala over Minter as well. And so let's see. And shout out to anybody that's still in fantasy. I need just a few. I need a decent game out of Christian McCaffrey tonight, and I'm in the championship game for fantasy. So shout out if that goes down. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So let's talk a little bit about this game, okay? And I apologize if I kind of wrap through this a little bit because, again, I only got maybe 20 more minutes. But do me a favor, double tap that screen, hit that sub button if you guys want to get included. Also, my next giveaway, it's at 5,500 subscribers. I think I'm less than 25 away. Once I hit that, I'm going to do a giveaway on the channel. So it'll be my 15th, I think, giveaway since starting this channel early 2023. Just my way of showing my appreciation to subscribers. I'll go live. We'll do a giveaway, and we'll probably make sure Chewy doesn't get into the chat on that one because he's been the back-to-back winner, which is crazy. So, but we'll have some fun. Here's my general takes of the game. Woody Marks was out. I think Woody Marks could have added to that run game, and so he was a late scratch earlier that morning. And so with Woody Marks being out, I think that definitely helped in our favor. There were some things that definitely killed us, but there's also things that helped us. Again, Woody Marks being out. CJ Stroud looked very, very inaccurate. I think that definitely helped us with just staying in the game. And so I think that was tough. Definitely some bad penalties. All right, there, the Ellis Kappa penalty where he basically moved his head. I don't know if that was necessarily or should have been a penalty. The pass interference call. I think that was on, was it the Eric Stokes pass? It might have been Eric Stokes. I think there was a good chance that was overthrown. There was definitely a pass interference penalty here and there that shouldn't have been called, and that helped them. That bailed them out. I think one was later in the game where they were in. I think they came off of a penalty, and a pass interference call basically bailed them out on like second and like 18 or something like that. And so there was a lot of things that definitely went their way to help them out. But look, at the same time, I've said this multiple times. They're all professionals. These are all professionals. That could have been a combination of Houston might have been overlooking us a little bit. Houston probably thought they're going to come in and just absolutely have an absolute field day on defense, get to Geno Smith. I think a lot of people, if you would have put the over-under on sacks on Geno Smith, 5.5, I think a lot of people would have picked the over. So I think that there might have been a little bit of a dose of them overlooking us a little bit. And when you overlook professional athletes, which as bad as we are, we're still professionals, I think that played a little bit of a role as well. And so, a bad clock is right twice a day. As a professional football team, you can come out, and we've seen upsets before. And I'll be honest, man, I was kind of sweating. I want us to get that number one overall pick. And so as much as we were competitive, as much as we were battling, I was sweating. I wanted us to, I'll be real, I wanted us to lose. I want that number one overall. But as we were playing that game, I'm just sitting there going, holy shit, if this was what the majority of games, it doesn't need to be all, but if the majority of the games look like this, where we were battling, you can see the fight. I can talk about JEANTY. You can see JEANTY flash. That's the flashes I wanted to see. And it's not even just on the run, the long run he had. It's not even on the long pass that he had. There was a run that as soon as I saw it, I want to say it was probably around second quarter. I think it was one of his longer runs because prior to that long 50-yarder, it wasn't like he had a ton of impressive long runs, right? That long run really is what capped it off. But there was one run that probably was for about 12 yards, maybe 13, where the offensive line did a good job. They opened up the hole. He got to the second level, untouched. But then JEANTY took over. It was a very explosive cut to his right where he cut to open space, where in other games, he doesn't make that cut. He didn't make that cut. He didn't make the cut to open space. He basically would cut into the defender, or he would just continue into the backs of the defender, or he'd attempt to just run a guy over. He cut to open space. It was the perfect cut. It was an explosive cut, and he turned what could have been just a 5-yard gain into about a 12 to 14-yard gain. That's what I want to see JEANTY do. And when it happens, I will call it out. I will address it. And that's the difference between me and some of just the people that we've had to battle, the JEANTY truthers that are like, oh, you just wait and see. And it's like, okay, but I'm just basing it off of what I see right now. And what JEANTY showed on that one play is what I want to see. I'm not saying with a bad offensive line, I'm not saying he needs to show it 8, 9, 10 times a game. With a bad offensive line, it's going to be a struggle for any running back to look good. But I want to see those flashes where the offensive line does do well. He takes over and turns a 5-yard gain into a potential, 12 to 15 yard gain or even more, right? I want to see him possess that quality because we haven't seen it all season, but I will showcase tomorrow where he showed it. And I just want to see that. It would have been, I think my take on JEANTY would be very different if he showed that 2, maybe 3 times a game, because there are multiple times a game where the offensive line does do their job and gives him that run lane to the second level, but he just makes the wrong cut. He just buries his head in the back of the lineman or tries to run over a defender or runs into the defense. So I'm going to showcase it because when I see it, I want to show it because I want JEANTY to be good. I want him to be great. And so when I see it, I'm going to showcase it, and we're definitely going to get into it tomorrow. But shout out to JEANTY. Hell of a game. One-on-one with the linebacker. They identified man coverage, and JEANTY just basically beat the defender. They matched him up with the linebacker. That's already a mismatch on JEANTY. JEANTY, I believe if I go back and look, he made a little bit of a move. He made a little bit of a double move on that linebacker, which froze him for a second. Great job. Great throw by Geno. And then JEANTY did what he was supposed to do. He made that last man miss, and he took it off. Even on the long run, if you go back and look at the long run, the offensive line did a hell of a job of basically getting JEANTY. It was very similar. If you go back and look at that long run against the Bears, it's almost a very similar run where the offensive line, basically, even though JEANTY kind of buried his head in the back of the offensive line, he had a clear cut lane to his left. The offensive line basically had him untouched to that safety, which he broke that tackle. I don't think anybody touched him when he buried into that scrum where the offensive line basically had everybody blocked to the second level. And then JEANTY saw that outside cut. He took it. The safety came, broke that tackle. So I don't think he was untouched until that safety touched him at about 10, 11 yards downfield. He broke the tackle, which was a great broken tackle. And then he did the rest. Great run, but you got to shout out the offensive line for allowing JEANTY to basically be untouched until the second level. So I think the offensive line did a very good job, and JEANTY did the rest. And that's what you want to see more of. I want to see more of that. Again, it doesn't need to be 8, 9, 10 times a game. But with the bad offensive line, if it's 2 or 3 times a game with the opportunities there, that's when you can sit there and say, oh shit, when the offensive line is good, or we have a top offensive line, damn, that's where he's going to be able to earn what people think of an overall, a number 6 overall, right? And so we'll give credit when credit is due, and I think JEANTY did a hell of a job. Let me kind of go through. Yeah. Finally read it and went outside instead of forcing inside. He's maturing, yes, and we're going to showcase it. We want to see it continue, right? We want to see it, and if it does continue, without question, we will showcase it, and it's going to be exciting if all the pieces of the puzzles come together. Truth, did you also hear Tyree doesn't love the game? I didn't hear that, but here's the thing. That was my biggest knock on Tyree a season and a half ago, right? I started this YouTube thing in 2023. And because I've coached this game for a very long time, I've played it for 15 years, coached it for 23 years. And you can tell when players just don't have the desire to be great. You can kind of see it in their mannerisms. You can see it in their play. You can see it the way they practice at times. And I'm lucky enough being in the Vegas area. I go to whatever open training camps that they have. And you can kind of just see when Tyree is on that practice field, he's just going through the motions. Any clips you can get on social media of practice, he looks like he's just going through the motions. The biggest knock that I have on Tyree is I don't think he doesn't have the mental desire to be great. And that's just that's not a trait you can teach. That's not a trait that you can coach up. You either have it or you don't. Max came in as a 4th rounder, I believe. Yeah, 4th rounder, right? Max needed to perfect and improve on his skill set going into the NFL. With what he showed in college, he wasn't going to be a top-tier edge rusher. He needed to have the mindset to be great, to sharpen up those skills, learn from his weaknesses, and build on it, and have that mindset to be great. And I don't think Tyree has that. And I've been saying it since I started this YouTube thing in early 2023. I think it was the third week of the season 2023. The first opportunity I had to post a video, I did it. And it was to basically showcase what my issues were when we drafted with Tyree. And I think he's got the physical traits to be good. He's a very athletic player. I just don't think he has the mental, what it takes mentally to be great. And to hear, and I didn't hear it, but to hear that Tyree doesn't love the game, I didn't hear that. I don't know if it was just kind of a social media thing, if he said it, but it doesn't surprise me because I honestly think that's been his problem since day one. Maybe he's trusting the playbook more with JEANTY. I don't know. It's just great to see him kind of have a breakout game like that and make the right cut that he did. We'll take a look at all of his other runs just to kind of see how well he did. And we'll definitely break that down. Spicy in the building. What's going on? Appreciate you popping here, guys. Go over to For Life Our Raiders story. Go over to Spicy Raiders channel. I think a lot more is to come with what she did. She did a great job of putting together the Parkway Tavern event during the Broncos game. I think that she's looking forward to more to come, and it's going to be fun. And she did a hell of a job putting that together. So go over there. Definitely show some love and support over to that YouTube channel. And I believe she goes live every Monday as well, so tapping it with her. I appreciate you popping in here. My two didn't hear Tyree. Doesn't like the game. But his funny smile in gameplay says it all. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. Let's see. Yeah. I remember the clips from the camp. I think I went over to the camp and Severe. Shout out to Severe, man. He was just over there basically saying you could just see Tyree like catching butterflies basically on that practice field. So it's tough to watch, but yeah, I think you saw us show some game film or practice film, and it was wild. Andrew, what's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking in here. True's finest. That's definitely correct. You heard last night how Chason, I think you're saying Chason gave props to Mac for helping him get better. I should have kept him instead of Tyree. That was a guy in the offseason that I wanted to prioritize. If you guys went with me with the mock drafts in the offseason, I wanted to bring back K'Lavon Chason. But look, it just because he went to the Patriots doesn't mean that we didn't want to keep him, right? We might have offered him a contract, and I think because we brought back Malcolm Kuntz to be the starter, I think Chason wanted to go somewhere to play and to be the starter, right? So he went to the Patriots. Doesn't mean that we didn't try, but you could make the argument that we should have kept K'Lavon Chason instead of Malcolm Kuntz. That argument can be made. But one thing I did say is I wanted to bring back K'Lavon Chason, mainly because Malcolm Kuntz is coming off of an injury. You don't know how well he's going to perform. So you bring back K'Lavon Chason so there's still competition, so he can continue to show that he potentially can be a starter and then have that competition. But I always wanted to draft an edge rusher starting at about the third or fourth round in the mock drafts. I wanted to draft an edge rusher because I didn't know how well Malcolm Kuntz was going to come off of that injury. And so I always targeted an edge rusher in the draft. And we didn't do it. We didn't get an edge rusher in the building until the undrafted free agents. And so I think that was a massive misstep by John Spytek in this draft by not trading back. We traded back, we obtained a bunch of draft capital, and you didn't get at least one edge rusher to come in here. And the thing is it's not even to take over Malcolm Kuntz in his position. It's also prep the next guy, because Malcolm Kuntz, if he does well, guess what? He's going to go test free agency. We signed him for a 1 year. So if he does well, he's going to go test free agency, and you're most likely not going to bring him back. So you bring in a guy that you can develop and potentially be the starter and prepare for when Malcolm Kuntz isn't here. So it's not about just getting a guy that's going to start today. It's also about prepping for the future. And they didn't do it. And that's one of my biggest knocks on John Spytek. So that's something I did in our mock drafts. Again, I only did 3, but it's definitely something I always pressed that I wanted to do. Truth's finest. The Patriots did everything. I'll be real with you. Outside the quarterback position, because obviously they have Drake May. They did everything that I wanted to do. They got Will Campbell, which I did in a mock draft. I wanted to keep Spillane because Spillane could have been a green dot guy. He could help with implementing Patrick Graham's system. He could be another coach on the field because he knows PG's system. I wanted to keep Spillane. I wanted to keep Caleb Von Chase on. I wanted an offensive line first round. I would have taken a running back in the second round. They did everything that I basically wanted to do for the most part. I wouldn't say everything, but the key pieces, the key moves, they did. J-Row, they did grab Tonka. And it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. I wasn't a big fan of the pick at the time. I think he's developing well. We'll see how he does with another offseason, right? But he's showing flashes, which is good. As a fourth round, I think it was a fourth round pick. As a fourth round pick, showing flashes like he has, I think that's a good way to show development. Okay, appreciate it. Double tap that screen, guys. I got like 5 more minutes. I got to head over the strip. I'm picking up dinner for the fam, watching the Monday Night Football with the old man. As long as my mom, it's going to be great. She's going to be in here, hang out with the grandkids. The wife will be out there too. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Let's talk real quick about this game. Guys, hit that hashtag Raiders. Let me know. Let's see. Man, I didn't like the game management out of Pete Carroll earlier in the game. I think it was a horrible challenge. I didn't like the challenge. And then you wasted a timeout. It was a horrible challenge, and then you wasted a timeout on a 4th and 1. When you try to draw them off sides, they're not going to jump, and you're going to punt anyways. They knew you were going to punt, and so you wasted another timeout for no reason. You could have just punted the ball. There was no reason for you to try to draw anybody offsides in that moment, to be honest, and that's just my opinion. And you went ahead, you wasted the timeout, and now you're down 2 timeouts early in the first half, and you could have potentially used them later, and you go into the end of the first half with only 1 timeout. To me, I felt like that was just a horrible kind of game management. I hated the challenge call, but then, like I said before, you see his son in his ear during them evaluating that challenge. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you need to get him out of your ear. One thing that I did love, I'm going to give JEANTY all the props in the world. He did a really good game. I did not like JEANTY on the 4th and short yardage situations. I thought JEANTY should, again, as a number 6 overall pick, that was one of my things when we, in the mock drafts, and even after we drafted JEANTY, I want us to bring somebody in for short yardage. JEANTY is 5'8", 210 pounds. Everybody thought JEANTY was going to be this just bowling ball that's going to run everybody over. He's run some people over. He runs through arm tackles, but in short yardage situations, I knew that JEANTY was not going to be that true short yardage guy. People forget he's 5'8", which is good leverage. He's 210 pounds. Linebackers are 230 pounds. D linemen are 260 pounds. Interior defensive tackles are 280, right? Just because he ran people over in college does not mean he's going to be able to do it here. And in short yardage situations, I want to see him be able to be better at that at number 6 overall pick. And he got cracked. He got stuffed by the linebacker in short yardage. He had another short yardage situation. He had 4 different opportunities in short yardage. He did get one. One of them was a pitch play. I don't like pitch plays on 3rd and short. I think it was a stupid play call, so I'm not going to put them on him. But there was the other 2 opportunities. Didn't get it on one. Basically got stuffed in a pile, and then he got cracked and stopped one-on-one in the hole with the linebacker. Those type of situations, I want to see him win the majority of the time. It doesn't need to be every time, but I want to see him win majority of the time. So I definitely want to see more of that. Let me know in the comments. Let's see. No, I do not go to the strip for the food. I don't even, real quick, I'm running out of time. I don't even go to the strip for the food because I live in the Vegas area. I actually bring food for the family. Whenever my entire family's out there, I get food off the strip and I bring it. And I also bring my own. I bring my own drinks. I do not. It's a long story. It's a funny story, but I don't buy drinks on the strip no more. I got a mortgage to pay. I got a house to pay. I got mouths to feed myself. I bring my. I'm a Jack and Coke guy. I like Scotch. And so I bring my own to the strip. I'll sit in the sports book, or my parents they're going to stay on the strip because they like to gamble and all that stuff. And so we'll go up into the hotel, watch the game, but I do not buy drinks at the strip. The guys that have rocked out with me, Leo, LV, Chris, and Severe, they know how I do when it comes to drinks on the strip. Let's see. Kane, toss on force should not be a thing for us. And look, I'm not putting Genty on that. It's not a fan. I'd like to see him be a little more elusive and do something like if he would have gotten that on 4th and 1, it'd be a more of a statement, just saying, yes, I'm worth that number 6 overall. It could be just be a statement, but I'm not putting that on him. I do think that that play call was stupid, and I don't like it. Elijah, what's going on, man? Pigs, JGB should have gotten the run. No, I still got the I got the Jeff going. Jack Kent, if you're still in here, I got the bet going. A lot of people thought JJ Pequise was going to be a shot at our short yardage. I said it's not going to happen. There's too many. There's too many. And I'll give you a real quick reason why. I have a bet with Jack Kenna. All JJ Pequise needs 1 carry in a game. That's all he needs. And I owe Jack Kenna 2 pitchers. If he doesn't, Jack Kenna owes me. The thing is that college and NFL are completely different, way different. To even think that an interior defensive lineman or a linebacker or anybody is going to get a carry as a running back is such a long shot. But the reason why you see it potentially more in college is because look at Ole Miss. The amount of times that Ole Miss blows teams out, right? There's going to be probably 4 or 5 games where they beat a team by 30-plus points. Those are your times where you can kind of play around and mess around, and you have more opportunities to do that. In the NFL, you don't have that opportunity. In the NFL, you have to put the best person available to execute that play because games are always tight. We keep talking about how many times we've been blown out in this season. It's crazy the amount of times because you know how hard it is to shut out a team, an NFL team. Games are always tight, really up until that 4th quarter. The amount of times that we've been competitive going into, it looks like we're competitive going into the half, it's because it's so hard to blow out an NFL team. And you have to be on your P's and Q's basically 95% of the game. And so to bring a guy in like that to go just run a play, it means that you are just comfortable since you've blown people out. And that's why you really never see it. You rarely ever see a player of a different position go get a carry. And so that's why I was very, very happy to place that bet with anybody because the likelihood of that happening is just so goddamn slim. Yeah, Reese, $30 shots on the strip. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't buy drinks on the strip anymore, man. John, appreciate you, man, with the super chat. I've heard that everything in Vegas, everything is. And so that's why I don't buy shit on the strip no more. And because I go to the strip often because people come into town. I have family. I have friends that are always coming in. They're hitting me up going, hey, man, I'm going to be there. I'm like, cool. I'll be there. I'm bringing my own drinks. So I'll basically bring a couple flasks of Jack. I'll buy basically a Coke at like a bar or somewhere, and I'll just mix it myself, and that's what I do. Again, I got a mortgage to pay and kids and mouths to feed. Plus, if I did that, the wife would be like, yeah, okay, then I'm bank account is open for Target, which can't happen. I appreciate it, man. You said it's great to see the chat interact as well, man. But I definitely like to come on here and just interact with y'all, man. It's definitely fun. Let's do this. I gave Genty his praise. We're gonna break down the game film. It was great to see. It was great to see Jack Best get involved early. Again, John, appreciate the super chat, man. It was great to see Jack Best get involved early. He was going to get some good corners, so it's good to see him get open, get separation. It was tough. I think it was only 2 catches. That deep one was early. That was the majority of his yards. Again, I just want to see consistency. Let's get him going early. Great to see Brock Bowers get in the end zone, but look, here's the thing. As much as the game was tight, it was because of really 2 big plays, right? The Genty big run and the Genty big catch, right? Unfortunately, when you're watching the game on TV, and I don't know if it happened to you guys, that game, that scoring drive went in and out. the scoring drive went in and out. So I missed, they went to commercial break. So I got to go back and watch the scoring drive. I don't know how they got into the red zone. But it was great to kind of see them get into the red zone, sustain a drive, and they cap it off with a Brock Bowers touchdown. But here's the thing, right? Because we don't have, and he's going against good defense, because we don't have a true number one and other receiver threats, they're going to be able to take number one corners and lock them up at Brock Bowers. And this was my biggest concern if you didn't get a true number one in the offseason, was that, and by letting Jakobi Meyers go, and it's something I said, again, since the trade talks started, or at least Jakobi Meyers was denied his extension, I said, if Jakobi Meyers is not on this team, we don't have a true number one, which is going to allow them to take their number one corners and lock them up on Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers, as good as he is, he's not going to be able to consistently find that success against the good number one corners. There's corners he can move against without question, but the good number one corners and the good defenses are going to do a really good job of locking him down. The way that you gain mismatches is you get him locked up against safeties, against linebackers, stuff like that, right? That's how you can expose defenses with a really good tight end. But because we don't have a true number one receiver, it's going to allow the good defenses that have good corners to really stay on Brock Bowers' hip, and it's going to make it just a little more difficult. I'm not saying he won't get open. He may not get his touches, but it's just going to be that much more difficult to find him. And we're seeing it ever since. We're seeing it even with Trey Tucker. Ever since Jakobi Meyers left the building, it's just been more difficult consistently for guys to get open. Yeah, Daniel Kim, bank account open for Target. Yeah, so that's why I can't spend like crazy on the strip for drinks and stuff, because, yes, bank account is open, and I can't have that. That's a slippery slope if all y'all have wives or girlfriends. Myra in the building. Myra, let me know if you're coming in for any of the next home games. I knew you were in New. I think you're definitely in Philly. I don't know if you're in New York. You're definitely in Philly, but let me know if you're coming in for any of the other home games. I'm only gonna be on here for a couple more minutes, but I'll be out there I'll be at the tailgate. I might go in for the Giants game, but I'll be out there for the Chiefs game for sure. Let me know. You said you can't be as ghetto and creative as me when I smuggle my Hennessy into concerts. Hey, trust me. I got the pocket shots. I don't know if you've heard of it. Basically it's like a disposable plastic flask. I don't want to be too loud, but the great part about Allegiant is that, they don't pat you down. It's just they check for metal. So you can kind of get some things in there. But you know how I rock out. Whenever I go to the sports book, I got my flasks. I bring my alcohol with me. But yeah, Myra, let me know if you're rocking out. If you're coming to any of the home games, these last home games, I'll be out there for the Giants. I'll be out there for Kansas City. Last thing that I'm going to say, and it's more towards the defensive guys. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Hit that hashtag Raiders. It was really good just to see the defense play a strong game. They did a really good job. They opened up the game with a 3-and-out. It's been my biggest knock on Patrick Graham since last season, is that he allows teams on their opening drive to get points, and he did a really good job of really minimizing the sustained drives of that Houston offense. Now, what I will say, Woody Marks being out was a little bit tough, but CJ Stroud, he didn't do a really good, he helped us, to say the least, right? He was very inaccurate. He didn't look very good. Obviously, those pass interference calls helped them without question. And so, but overall, the defense, I think, did a really good job. And the offense, the Houston offense, CJ Stroud helped us a little bit. So, but to be able to kind of keep that very competitive, the offense had big splash plays. They had the one good drive that ended with Brock Bowers. That was good. Outside of that, it was a lot of splash plays, right? The JEANTY splash play, the long pass downfield, the JEANTY run. Again, I'm going to showcase another run that I think was really good by JEANTY. That's the flash I want to see. It wasn't the touchdown run. It was something different. I'm going to showcase it tomorrow. But, my thing is that outside of those big splash offensive plays, the offense really struggled. So it was good that the defense was able to kind of minimize their scoring throughout the game. And, one guy, I've said it now for weeks, and this is why we continue to break down game film. I think I want to see us bring back Orlando Roberts next year. He's on a 1-year contract. He's older in age. I don't think he's going to want another, or I don't think he's going to get another, 2 to 3 year contract because he is up there in age. And so I think we could possibly bring him back. He's not very good in pass coverage, but he's a downhill linebacker that can set the tone, a green dot guy, great communication. I think he's a really good locker room guy. If we get a new head coach, we got to see what scheme he wants to run. But Orlando Roberts is going to be on my radar to bring back next year, because the reason why you want to bring back some guys is because you don't want to go into free agency in the draft with so many position needs. We have so many free agents on 1-year contracts. I've said this now for weeks, that we need to keep some guys. Are guys serviceable enough to where they can contribute, and we don't have to address that in free agency or the draft. Another guy I think I'd like to bring back is Jonah Laulu. We broke down his game film all last year. He showed flashes last year, which was great. But then when the Christian Wilkins thing went down, we went back and rewatched his game film. And I think that Jonah Laulu is a guy that we need to potentially prioritize, bring back, depending on the defensive scheme. If Pete Carroll's gone, whoever's running that defense, I think we need to potentially look at bringing him back as a rotational piece, as a guy that's going to compete. Again, you don't want to go into free agency with too many holes, but I do think that there's guys on this team that we can prioritize and bring back that will help, that are serviceable enough, that will do more good than hurt us. And then we can prioritize other positions that we really, really need. Again, I think we need plenty of it. Offensive line needs help. Receiver room needs help. I think we need an extra tight end. Michael Merrill will still be here, but I think we need an extra tight end. I think it's time to move on from Ian Thomas. There are definitely some needs that we have. And we have the salary cap to move. We have the salary cap to push around. But because we have so many guys that are on the last year of the contract or 1-year contracts, a lot of that cap is have to go into them, replacing those guys. So it really remains to be seen just how much cap we'll have once those guys once those positions are full. So, and we have a lot of draft picks to mess with next year. So you definitely got to allocate money for that. So, guys, that was, I think, my biggest takes. Again, I want to end it with this. We've been a critique of JEANTY. He's a rookie. You can critique a rookie, right? But no running back would be good behind this offensive line, but you want to see flashes. You want to see him kind of create his own success. And there was examples, even outside that long run and that long catch, that I think he's now. This game, he definitely showed a flash that I want to showcase tomorrow. So we're going to break down the game film tomorrow, not only to kind of show the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to break down JEANTY. We're going to look at all of his runs, see if there's other opportunities for him to kind of flash in the same way. But we also want to make sure we take a look at some of these players that we may want to prioritize as we enter in the season. So, Stoic in the building. Appreciate you, man. Reese Rock, what's going on, man? Defense gave up 2. Offense gave up 2 TDs, but gave up 1. Appreciate you rocking here with me. I see you, Dan. What's going on, man? Defense only gave up 17 points. They did. That pick 6 by Geno was awful. You cannot be late to the sideline. He basically pumped to the sideline. He allowed that corner to get position onto JEANTY. 1, you don't throw that football. But 2, you can't pump it, allow the corner to get better position, knowing that you're going there, and then you throw it, and he jumps it for a pick 6. Like everything about that was absolutely horrible. But we're gonna showcase that pick, that interception tomorrow. We break down game film. Again, we typically do it on Wednesdays, but we're doing it just a day early because of Christmas Eve. And so, what up, Cool Kev? Appreciate you in the building. Reese Rock, the hashtag Raiders are only going to give up 17. Okay, yeah. I appreciate you in that hashtag Raiders. I want to go back. So what's up? Jason in the building. We have a lot of holes. We do, without question, but you can prioritize some players to bring back that won't necessarily hurt you, but they're serviceable enough to where you don't have to address so much. But I think Orlando Roberts and Jonah Laulu are one of those that could be it. Rafa, what's going on, brother? Guys, go over to Rafa's channel, show some support and love. Right away, what's going on? Appreciate you. And Kane, I think I said this. Appreciate you being a member. I think I'd draft Mendoza in his number 1 receiver, then go for all the Texas Tech linebackers. All right, we'll definitely talk about draft for sure. we're going to dive into it. No more mock drafts. We're going to have some fun. Jason, what's going on, brother? Happy holidays to you as well, man. Guys, go show some support to Jason. Shout out to you, man, with the new little one, the addition to the family, man. I hope you're excited for the first Christmas, first holidays with little man. I got 3 little ones of my own, and the first ones are always special, brother. So shout out to you. Yeah, man, I appreciate you. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, pump pitch. He's been doing it all year. I know. I'm going to get out of here, guys, man. I appreciate y'all. Remember, we're going to go live tomorrow, but if you don't jump in and go live with us, man, double tap that screen before you get out of here. But everybody, have a safe holidays. I hope you are sharing it with loved ones, with friends, sharing it the right way, that you enjoy it. Appreciate all year long. You guys have been rocking with us, rocking with me. Just as a reminder, next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. If you want to be included, hit that sub button. It'll be my 15th giveaway for all the members. I'm going to do a members only live at the tailgate this weekend if you want to get included in that. But not only do I appreciate everybody that's rocked with me all year long since I started this journey, but everybody that has kind of jumped in. I know I don't have a big channel, and the thing is I don't want this to be a massive channel. I want to be able to do this one-on-one. I want to be able to talk to you guys. I don't do it for the popularity. I do it because it's my way of being able to get the itch out of coaching. Again, you guys know I played it for 15 years. I coached it for 15 years. I get that itch to want to coach again, but I don't want to do that. I want to give my family time. I want to be able to give my family the time that I kind of lost during the coaching days. And so you guys allow me with that avenue. And so I love being able to go on here and do one-on-ones. And it's all about just kind of giving back and showing some love to you guys. So, Dave Peterson, appreciate you. I appreciate you subbing. Once I hit 5,500, I didn't look at the number. I don't know if I'm there, but I know I'm about less than 25 away. Once it hits, we'll do that giveaway, man. I appreciate it. But hey, look, guys, hey, have a great holiday. Share with your loved ones, with your friends. I hope you have people around you that will make it great. Rock in with us tomorrow. But if you guys don't, have a great holiday. I will go live probably later into the week, maybe into the weekend. I took the next 2 days off of work, or next 2 weeks off of work. So I'm going to do more lives and jump in here. So appreciate y'all, man. Have a great Christmas, but rock out with us tomorrow. But if I don't see you guys, enjoy it. Can't say thank you enough. Tomorrow, I think 4:30 Eastern, 7:30 or 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. We're going to break down some game film. So appreciate y'all, man. Hey, have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your week if I don't see you. But if I don't see you, have a great holiday. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm out here.